Hey, what's up guys? Commander Alex here, and today we are going to be doing yet another Idris news video. So for you guys that don't know, Idris is the new hero coming to Vainglory, and just recently, actually yesterday, I created a video basically showing you guys gameplay that SCMC released of him, which was on their dev stream. It was a short little clip, and it was kind of just like a teaser. You got to see some of his abilities, but you didn't really know much about him. But they actually released a lot of other information as well, and I didn't mention it in that video, but because you guys enjoyed that video so much, I'm going to be making another video about all the other information that we know about Idris. So yeah, that's what this video is about. One thing before we get started though, I made a mistake my last video. I called Idris a she instead of a he, and yeah, Idris is a he for those of you that are wondering, and that kind of destroyed the comment section of my last video. So hopefully that clears up any misconceptions for people who thought that Idris was like a transgender or a she or a he or not even a human. Like, there were so many different random things out there. It was strange. But he is a he. Nothing crazy here, right? We're just normal. Hopefully this comment section will be better. And yeah, let's hop into things here with the splash art, which should be on your screen right now. Obviously, this is Idris. What you're going to see is his staff, which is his weapon, as well as all this green mist. And we don't really know what that is, but we believe it ties into his lore, which while I haven't read, nor do I really plan to because I don't really read the lore that much, generally the splash arts kind of build around that. So he's an assassin. He's got this cool face mask looking thing going on here, like a respirator almost. And yeah, he's supposed to be very, very mobile and high damage. So he is an assassin, which some people are going to be hating on, some people are going to be loving. It's kind of just, hard to play against, but fun to play. So, it's double-edged sword. Anyway, moving on here, because the slash art really isn't that interesting, we have all of his abilities. So if we move down here, we can see Idris has a bunch of different abilities, and the reason for this is that he actually has different paths. So yeah, let's just hop into things here. Idris's hero abilities. Divergent Paths is his heroic perk. Idris unlocks unique powers for either his melee or ranged paths. Kind of messed that one up. Idris unlocks unique powers for either his melee or ranged paths upon attaining a certain amount of weapon power or crystal power. Melee is weapon power. Idris' Shroud Step becomes an instantaneous blink. We're going to talk about his Shroud Step later. And passively, his melee attacks restore stamina, which is kind of like his energy source, and reduce the cooldown of his Shroud Step and Shimmer Strike abilities, which again we will talk about later. But basically, you're going to get an instantaneous blink if you go weapon power. You're going to get lowered cooldown on abilities, and you're going to get more basically energy. He uses stamina rather than energy, and the reason for that is it's how his abilities work. But yeah, basically more abilities and you get an instant blink, which is really cool. Crystal is ranged. Idris gains ranged basic attacks, dealing crystal and weapon damage and applying on-hit effects. So this is a really big change. If you go with enough crystal, you can actually become a ranged hero, which is pretty crazy considering you're like meant to be an assassin. So to be a ranged assassin is kind of crazy. But anyway, instead of energy, Idris uses stamina to activate his abilities. Purchasing items with energy and energy regeneration increases his stamina and stamina regeneration. So the only time that you need stamina is when you have enough crystal power to become ranged. When you are ranged, you have to use stamina for your abilities. So that means that the melee part of restoring stamina only actually helps you if you also get the ranged part with crystal. So maybe hybrid is going to be a thing on Idris. I could definitely see it happening. There is some synergy between them, and you can attain both weapon power and crystal power paths. You can't just like choose one, right? You can actually get both if you have enough crystal power and enough weapon power. Alright, so that's that. Moving on here, we have his A ability, which is Shroud Step. That's what was referred to in his melee path. Idris dashes in the target direction, dealing amplified damage to the next target he attacks within seconds. If Idris has not taken damage within the last few seconds, Shroud Step gains a barrier. The availability of the barrier is displayed beneath his stamina meter. So, to kind of break this down here, he gets a dash, which, if you have enough weapon power, becomes a blink. Now, the difference between a dash and a blink is that a blink teleports you from one location to another. A dash moves you quickly from one location to another. So, kind of to give you an idea of how this works, Vox's Sonic Zoom is a dash. So when Vox like dashes into an Ardent Gauntlet, he still gets stunned. But if you were to blink through an Ardent Gauntlet, that is like if you were to use Lyra's Portal, you don't get stunned, which is really, really interesting because what it allows you to do is get out of things that you normally couldn't, and it allows you to do all the normal things you can do with dashes like hop over walls and stuff like that. So it's really mobile and it makes you really, really hard to deal with because you're literally untargetable for the distance between your two locations. All right. If Idris has not taken damage in the last few seconds, Shroud Step gains a barrier. This is going to be kind of what you play on, right? So you want to get your barrier up, then you're going to go in because you're going to be building mostly damage. So that barrier is going to be very important for your survivability when you're trying to get out after you've assassinated someone. And the availability of the barrier is displayed beneath the stamina meter. So that's where you're going to look to find that out. Chakram is his B. Idris throws a Chakram. Just got a comment. Chakram is his B. Idris throws a Chakram that returns to him, damaging enemies each time it passes over them, hitting enemy heroes, miners, or Kraken recovers stamina. Idris can use his Shroud Step and Shimmer Strike abilities to avoid catching returning Chakrams, giving him additional opportunities to strike enemies. Okay, so basically it's like a boomerang effect thing. You throw it out and it comes back to you. It deals damage every time it hits somebody, whether it hits them once going out or whether it hits them once going out and once coming back in. Or if you dodge and do some fancy shit, you can probably even get it to go back out, come back in, dodge it as it's coming back in, and then hit that person again. So what it's talking about here is that because Shroud Step is a dash, you can like really quickly change your location. And because it's always going to come back to you, if you continue to like dance around the enemy team, the Chakram's going to follow you, trying to catch you, and it's going to hit enemies as it's moving around, which is really kind of interesting. And I feel like that's going to be something that's very, very hard to master. But depending on the damage that Chakram does, it could be really, really good. Plus, it gives you a lot of stamina, which is going to be really nice for having your abilities up. All right, finally here, Shimmer Strike. That's his ultimate. Idris lashes onto the target hero, becoming invulnerable, then leaps off in the chosen direction, damaging surrounding enemies. The distance Idris leaps is increased in his crystal path. Okay, so let's break this down. He latches onto a target hero. So he chooses a hero. We can assume that it's probably an enemy hero, but maybe you can also do this to an allied hero. That'd be kind of cool, but I don't know for sure. Idris latches onto the target here, becoming invulnerable. So he has an invulnerability, which is really, really good for assassins. It's the same reason why Taka is so annoying, because he can dodge crazy, crazy damage if he just times it right? So like Taka can Kaiten and dodge like a full Celestial to the face. He can Shimmer Strike and dodge like a full Celestial to the face. But if he doesn't, he's going to get blown up. So that's kind of where the skill comes into his assassinations, right? So he latches on, becomes invulnerable, then leaps off in the chosen direction, damaging surrounding enemies. So basically, it's like you zoom in, latch onto them, you're invulnerable, and then you zoom out to a target location and deal damage around you wherever you land. And the distance Idris leaps is increased in his crystal path. So if you go crystal, what are you going to get? Well, you're going to get a longer Shimmer Strike range for leaping, which means that you're going to be able to go in and out really far. Like you won't have to be standing next to the person to latch onto them. You'll be able to be like, I don't know how far away, jump onto them, latch onto them, and then jump away. So you're going to have better engage and disengage with CP, I think. Weapon power, you get an instant blink, which is not a dash. Shroud Step starts as a dash, which is just like a really quick movement ability, but if you get enough weapon power, it becomes a blink, which can go through things like Ardent Gauntlet or I don't know, but I believe they might be able to go through Lyra's Bulwark, but things like that. Basically, you get a blink if you go weapon power. You get a longer range dash / like attack ability or engage ability if you use CP, and if you get both, then you get both. There is nothing here that says that you can't have both weapon power and CP. So kind of an interesting kit. Honestly, I'm not quite sure how it's going to play. It seems like it could be really good, but at the same time, it also seems like having an invulnerability along with a barrier for an assassin is going to be really freaking hard to deal with. And then on top of that, he's going to be able to have a blink, which is going to get him out of things like Ardent Gauntlets. Like, it could be really nasty to play against him. Obviously, you have to wait for the scalings, because if he doesn't have any damage, it's not going to matter. But, it could be pretty nasty to play against him. We're definitely going to have to see. So that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. But before you do go, I'm going to have the gameplay for my last video up here for any of you guys that missed it, so that you can watch all of his abilities in action. And he does use them in this gameplay, so you can kind of see what they look like and maybe get an idea for how it works. One thing to keep in mind though is that on these preview gameplays, they intentionally don't have the enemy team build defense, and they intentionally have the hero that they're displaying get super fed, so that it doesn't give people an idea of like how balanced he's going to be. So if he's doing crazy damage, that's just because they intended him to do crazy damage just to show you guys what he looks like. They want to get you hyped up, but they're not showing you how good he is. Okay, so for everyone out there who's like, he's OP, he just like freaking 1v3'd, yeah, that's because they wanted to make you think he's OP so that you can buy him. Like, that's how the world works. So hopefully you guys get that. And yeah, I'm going to let the gameplay roll for you right now. See you in the next one.